Dredging up 14-year-old digital liabilities to cover a current-day credibility deficit is the ultimate sign of a political brand in total operational collapse.
Maine's Democratic primary for Senate between Janet Mills and Graham Plattner. And much of the focus has been on a series of comments that Plattner made online more than a decade ago. Tonight, in our latest Truth Tracker report, we're breaking down two dueling ads from both sides of this controversy.
Did you know Graham Plattner wrote that women worried about need to, quote,
not get so up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to.
It's disgusting.
This ad from the Mills campaign is about as stark as it gets. And it's true. Graham Plattner admits he made this and other posts on the website Reddit about 14 years ago. The ad continues.
Plattner wrote to avoid women should, quote,
act like an adult for sake.
Graham Plattner, seriously.
We blame the victim. That's a horrible thing to say.
Disqualifying. I have not seen this.
He's a bully.
The women responding are identified as real people from Maine. Is the ad truthful? Yes, which is why the Plattner campaign is airing this counter ad in response.
If I saw these ads, I'd have questions. These are words and statements I abhor from a time in my life when I was struggling deeply after returning from war.
It's true. Plattner served 4 tours in Afghanistan as a Marine and reservist over 8 years leading into 2011. The controversial Reddit posts are from shortly after that. In his ad, Plattner asks you to see his comments that he himself calls abhorrent in that context.
So, Maine, I'm asking you not to judge me for the worst thing I said on the internet on my worst day 14 years ago, but who I am today.
And that's how Graham Plattner's past statements and how you should respond to them today are at the heart of these dueling ads.
I'm Graham Plattner, and I approve this message, and I will not let you down.
Graham Plattner, the closer you look, the worse it gets.
I'm Janet Mills, and I approve this message.
Now, at this point, it's unclear what impact these ads and Plattner's past comments are having on the race, although it is worth noting that a recent poll conducted just after these negative ads began airing showed Plattner maintaining a large lead over Mills.
I am Camila Matato, and this is Camila's House. As a certified public accountant focused on forensic verification, I look past the campaign slogans to audit the actual statement of integrity being presented to the voters. In a standard audit, if a firm's current year performance is failing, the management often tries to restate the history of their competitors to distract from their own operating deficits. Today, we are auditing the Maine Senate race, where Janet Mills is attempting a hostile takeover of Graham Plattner's reputation by excavating 14-year-old Reddit comments. We are analyzing a scenario where a legacy politician is using sunk costs and emotional arbitrage to offset a polling spanking that has left her brand in a state of technical insolvency. The operational strategy of the Mills campaign has shifted from policy marketing to character liquidation. When you are losing badly and getting spanked in the polls by a newcomer like Graham Plattner, the management usually enters a state of panic. Mills has moved the race beneath the sewer by launching a series of stark Truth Tracker ads that highlight comments Plattner made on Reddit over a decade ago. From a forensic perspective, these are legacy liabilities, statements made during a high volatility period of Plattner's life, specifically shortly after he returned from serving 4 tours in Afghanistan as a Marine and reservist over an 8-year period. In auditing terms, Mills is trying to impair the asset of Plattner's candidacy by arguing that his past comments on sexual assault and victim blaming are disqualifying and disgusting. However, every audit report requires a management response, and Plattner's contextual reconciliation is a powerful counter-asset. He admits to the comments but labels them abhorrent, framing them as a product of a deep struggle following his return from war. From a risk management standpoint, Plattner is asking the voters to perform a current year valuation rather than a retrospective audit. He is claiming that the man he was in 2011 is a discontinued operation, and that his current balance sheet reflects a different set of values. The fact that recent polls show Plattner maintaining a large lead despite these reputational hits suggests that the voter shareholders are writing off the decade-old data in favor of current economic and social concerns. The Mills ad, intended to trigger a massive sell-off of Plattner support, appears to be backfiring, as users on platforms like X label her truly disgusting for the gutter-level tactics. This credibility deficit for Janet Mills is compounded by her own material misstatements regarding the health of President Joe Biden. As a CPA, I track the reporting consistency of leadership. During the summer of 2024, Mills was one of the primary custodians of the narrative that Biden was fit for office, publicly praising his heart, determination, and vigor even after a disastrous debate. Yet in a recent disclosure to The Atlantic, she admitted to privately encouraging him to drop out, calling his decision to run sad. In the world of forensic auditing, this is a systemic reporting failure. You cannot issue a clean audit opinion to the public while maintaining a qualified opinion in private. This information asymmetry proves that Mills prioritized party equity over public disclosure, a move that has permanently impaired her trust ledger with the Maine electorate. While the Senate audit descends into the sewer, the election infrastructure of Maine is facing a hostile takeover bid from the federal executive. President Donald Trump has issued an executive order designed to recapitalize the integrity of mail-in voting. The order directs the Department of Homeland Security to create a state citizenship list using Social Security data, effectively auditing the voter rolls for non-citizens. Furthermore, it instructs the U.S. Postal Service to restrict delivery of ballots to only those on the verified list. From a systemic infrastructure perspective, this is a mandatory internal control upgrade intended to close the security loopholes that Trump believes led to his 2020 default. The regulatory friction to this federal order is being led by Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. She has labeled the order laughably unconstitutional and a systemic breach of state sovereignty. Bellows is currently in a state of open war with the Trump administration over the maintenance of voter rolls. As a CPA, I see this as a jurisdictional conflict over who has the authority to audit the electorate. Bellows views the federal intervention as an unauthorized management override, while the administration views it as a necessary forensic correction to prevent systemic voter fraud. This legal volatility creates a market of uncertainty for the 2026 elections, where the sovereignty of the ballot is being litigated between the federal auditor and the state registrar. The final reconciliation of the Maine political landscape reveals a leadership team in total operational arrears. You have an outgoing governor attempting to liquidate her competitor through character defamation, while her own reporting history is riddled with material inconsistencies. You have a Secretary of State choosing war and confrontation over federal cooperation on voter verification. And you have a newcomer candidate who is hedged against his own legacy liabilities by the failed performance of the incumbent management. Maine is no longer a stable political environment. It is a high-risk portfolio of gutter tactics and constitutional standoffs. My forensic verdict is that Janet Mills is suffering from permanent brand devaluation. Her attempt to dredge the sewer for 14-year-old comments is a non-productive use of political capital that has failed to move the needle in her favor. The voters of Maine have certified that they are fed up with legacy management that covers up deficiencies in their own party while whipping up hate against their rivals. Until the election infrastructure can be reconciled with transparent internal controls and consistent reporting standards, the social equity of the state remains in technical default. I want to hear from you. Is the 14-year-old Reddit audit a legitimate risk disclosure, or is it a tactical diversion from Mills' own credibility crisis? Should the federal government have the master authority to audit the voter rolls for citizenship, or is that a systemic overreach that impairs state sovereignty? Let me know in the comments. Your perspective is the only audit that matters when the future of the Senate and the integrity of your vote are sitting on the negotiation table. I am Camilo Motado, and this is Camilo's House. Subscribe to stay informed on the numbers, the laws, and the truth behind the headlines. Stay safe.